welcome to Square 1, Year of the Ox in the Wrapped in Chamois Crochet Along. My name is Petra. I'm the designer and the host of this crochet along, and I hope you will enjoy making this square with me. You can find all the background information on the website, and there will be a link in the description below. There's a free pattern page on the website, and there will also be a link for that. Let's get into it. Let's get started with Year 1, Square 1, Year of the Ox. So I like to start with a magic circle, and I do that by making a cross with the yarn. Then I go under the one side, pull the yarn through, and then just hold it so you won't lose the loop, and close with a chain. Then pull the chain very tight and start with a long loop with a beginning. And our round 1 will be single crochet, chain 2 4 times. So we single crochet into the ring, then we make the chain 2. The chain 2 will be our corner space. Just make sure you work over both threads here. Single crochet, chain 2, and one more time. Single crochet, chain 2. Then we pull the circle tight, and we slip stitch into the top loops of the first single crochet. And you will notice that I will work over the end, over the tail of my yarn, because I don't like to weave in those ends. So that's round 1. Easy peasy and very quick. In round 2 we start with a chain 1, and then see those chain 2 spaces. These will be our corners, and we'll make a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet into this corner space. Now the next stitch sometimes likes to hide behind this single crochet, the second that we made into the corner, so we just have to pull it a little bit to the side. So here is our single crochet from the previous round, and we make another single crochet into that, and then that's the corner again. So the corner stitches are single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and then we just work around on all 4 sides and make sure that in the end you will have 3 stitches on each side. Almost there. Now I would like to show you how to slip stitch into the first. Let me show you here. So this can sometimes look a little bit confusing. This is the last single crochet that we made into the corner, and this is the first single crochet that we made into the first corner. This stitch here is the chain with which we went up into the next round, and this, it's a bit tighter than the other ones, is the last single crochet before the corner from the previous round, and this is what we make another single crochet into. And then we slip stitch into the first single crochet that we made, and that means that round 2 is done. Now let's quickly have a look. We have 1, 2, 3 stitches on each side. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, easy to count. And here we've got 1, 2, and this stitch that we made into the first single crochet is our third. So we just skip the chain 1 and we just act as if it would not exist. It does not count as a stitch, it just gives us a bit of height. So we just skip it. And then we slip stitch into the first single crochet, and that will give us the correct stitch count again. Okay, and that's round 2. In round 3 we start again with a chain 1, single crochet, chain 2, chain 2, single crochet into the corner, and our first stitch will be a single crochet, and the second will be a single crochet in the back loop only. And then the last is a single crochet again. And now we work the corner. So when you close this round, you close it into with a slip stitch into the first of those single crochets. If you have difficulty finding that stitch, just after you make, use a stitch marker so that you know, oh yeah, here I'm on my 4th side and this is where I need to slip stitch into. Or just learn how to see those stitches, then you won't need a stitch marker, but it's very handy and easy, and sometimes a good reminder. So that is round 3. In round 4 we have a little repeat, or small repeat. We've only got 5 stitches, so it's really small. We start with a single crochet, and that is the start of our small repeat. So single crochet in the first stitch, and then a single crochet in the back loop only of the next, and that's the repeat already. Single crochet in the back loop only, and we finish with a single crochet into the last stitch and then the corner. That is round 4. Repeat on all sides and slip stitch into the first single crochet of the corner, and we meet again in round 5. In round 5 we introduce our first 2 special stitches. But first we start with 2 single crochet after the corner, and then our first special stitch is a DC1B. What that means is that it's a DC in the front loop of the stitch 1 round below. So this is the current stitch, and directly 1 round below is the front loop where we had the single crochet in the back loop only in the previous round. So we take this front loop and make a DC1B. Our next special stitch is a half treble 2B. We yarn over twice and we go 2 rounds below. So that's the next stitch, and we go 1, 2 rounds below. In the front loop we made 2 rounds prior. So half treble into this one. And the next stitch is a DC1B again. So now you see we've made 3 stitches that are in front of our current round or our current row. That means we have to skip those 3 stitches behind, which will leave us with 2 stitches left to work into, and we have a single crochet to work into each of them, and then we are in the corner. So in round 5 you should have 9 stitches all together on each side, and that includes those 2 corner stitches. Just remember, when you work in front you have to skip the stitches behind. It's not necessarily stated in the pattern, but I usually say it when I do the videos. So do this on all the other 3 sides, and then slip stitch into the first single crochet of the corner and meet me in round 6. In round 6 we will have another new stitch again that is called a dcbb. We start with 3 single crochet after the corner, and then our next stitch is the dcbb. What that means is we make a double crochet in the stitch behind and below the next stitch. See, we have skipped these stitches in the previous round, so they are 2 rounds below, and we find those top loops and we'll make a double crochet into those top loops. And we have 3 of those dcbb's. And a third one. Just make sure you find the first, because it could be hiding behind this single crochet here. My squares are all symmetrical in this crochet along, and they're all the same on all 4 sides, and because they're symmetrical means they have a symmetrical axis, which is the middle stitch. So when we start with 3 we also finish with 3, and the middle stitch is our mirroring point. So the middle stitch of those 3 DCs is our mirroring point, and from here we do the stitches from the first side in reverse order on the second side, which means we skip those stitches, those 3 stitches in front, and we single crochet in each of the last 3 stitches. And we have a corner stitch, and easy peasy, that is round 6. All you need to do is to repeat on the other 3 sides, and then we'll be together again for round 7. We introduce a new special stitch in this round 7, but it's really a very easy one again. So we start with 2 single crochet. Make sure to find the first of those single crochet after the corner, and then single crochet in the back loop only of the next 2 stitches. And the next stitch is our special stitch, which is called a front post half treble 2B. And again, 2B means we work in the stitch directly 2 rounds below. So there is no indication whether we should go ahead like 1A or behind 1B. We just go 2 rounds below, which means for the half treble yarn over twice. This is the stitch we made in the previous round, 1 stitch below, and this is the stitch we made 2 rounds below. That was the DC1B. So we use that, and we make a front post half treble around that stitch. And we make 3 of those front post half trebles. The next goes around the half treble we made 2 rounds below. That was round 5. And the last one around this DC. Okay, so now you see we worked stitches in the front, and of course we skip those 1, 2, 3 stitches behind, and the next stitch we work into is this one. We'll make 2 single crochet in the back loops only, and then we finish with another 2 normal single crochet, and then we are in the corner. So we repeat that on the other 3 sides. Slip stitch into the first single crochet of the corner and meet me for round 8. Round 8 is again very easy. We have only single crochet and double crochet, but in different variations. We start with 2 single crochet after the corner, and then a single crochet in the back loop of the next stitch. And remember, we had the back loop single crochet only. Now we have those 2 front loops in this round available, in which we make a DC1B. So again, the double crochet into the front loop directly 1 round below, and another one to the next. So those are 2 DC1B, and then we work in the stitches behind those half trebles from the previous round. If you want, you could just make normal single crochets in the tops like that. Just make normal single crochets. What I want is a good stitch definition, some depth and dimension, and in order to achieve that I work the double crochet behind and below, the dcbb, in each of those 3 stitches that are 2 rounds below. Those are the skipped stitches from the previous round. So we made them 2 rounds below, even though it just looks like it's the previous round, but in the previous round we made those and we skipped the other ones. And that means we have already crossed the middle mark. Now we do the 2 dcbb again. In the front loops of the stitches directly 1 round below, DC1B. And then we skip the stitches behind the DC1B. So those are 2, these 2, 1, 2. We have 1 single crochet in the back loop only, and we end with 2 single crochet plus the corner stitch. Including those 2 corner stitches from the beginning and the end, you should have 15 stitches per side. So you and I will repeat on the other sides, slip stitch into the first single crochet of the corner, and we'll be back together in round 9. All the special stitches that we're going to do in round 9 are just a repetition of some that you have done before already. we start with 3 single crochet just after the corner, and then the next stitch is a DC1B. Remember, that was a DC in the front loop of the stitch directly 1 round below. And then the logical thing to think is, yes, because we worked here in front, we have to work in the back, and we do that with a dcbb, a double crochet behind and below into the tops of the stitch we made, or the stitches we made 2 rounds below. So that's that done. And then again we have a front post half treble 2B, which is a front post half treble around the stitches we made 2 rounds earlier. So you don't even have to think, what am I skipping? Am I working in front? Am I working behind? It's just a natural progression almost of where to work. If you know what the stitch means, then you already have an indicator where to work them and how to work them. See, we worked in the front, then we worked in the back, then we worked in the front, and now we're working in the back again. Make 2 double crochet, and you see the first of those is a little bit hidden. So I just grab it and make a double crochet into those top loops. And the second dcbb. Now we work in the front again. We make another DC1B, DC in the front loop of the stitch directly 1 round below. And we started with 3 single crochet, and we skip the stitch behind, and we end with 3 single crochet. So we skip the stitch behind the DC1B, and that's when we are already in the corner. So as you see, it's quite easy. It looks a bit more complicated with the list of the special stitches than it really is. So that's round 9. Just continue on all the other 3 sides. Slip stitch into the first single crochet and meet me again in round 10. Round 10 has only 1 new stitch, but because it is mirrored, it looks as if there are 2, and the other stitches are already known to you. And this first new stitch is a front post double treble 4A1B. What that means is, from the next stitch, which is the stitch directly after the corner, we count 4A, 4 ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1B means that is the stitch 1 round below. So the previous round, this is the DC 1B, around which we make this front post double treble 4A 1B. So for the double treble, so DC, treble, double treble 3 times over. Then insert the hook, yarn over, pull through, go through 2, go through 2, go through 2, and go through 2. And if this loop is a bit bigger for you, don't worry about it. It will be hidden. We don't need to have this very super duper neat. It's all good. So we made this front post double treble instead of the stitch into here, which means we skip the stitch behind the front post double treble, and starting with the next stitch we make 4 single crochet. And the 4th single crochet goes into the top of this double treble that we made. in the previous round. Now our next stitch is a front post half treble 2B. You know that from the previous round and from a few previous rounds, and we make that around those DC1B, around each of those. Okay, then we have 3 dcbb again. You know that already, so that is the double crochet behind the current stitch, and we need to find the first. One yarn always enough. So we find the first. You see how mine is hidden and yours maybe too. And we make 3 dcbb, double crochet behind and below the current stitch. Remember our middle stitch here, so the middle dcbb is our mirror point. So we go in reverse order with the stitches that we did on the first half of the side, which means we are doing 2 front post half treble 2B, 1 around each of the next DC1BB. This is our 2 front post half treble 2B made, and now we need to find the stitches that we need to skip. So the easiest way is either to count from the corner, but we are lucky we have a checkpoint. So this dcbb is our first of 4 single crochet. 1, 2, 3 and 4. And our last stitch, this one, we will skip because we make another stitch instead, which is the mirror of this front post double treble 4A1B. Because we went ahead for this one, we now go behind, and this makes this front post double treble of front post double treble 4B1B, 4 behind and 1 round below. So from this stitch, counting from this stitch, we go 1, 2, 3, 4 behind and 1 round below. So that's this one. We yarn over 3 times. We've established our stitch. We go around, go through 2, go through 2, go through 2, and the last 2. So now, as said already, we skip this stitch and we work directly into the corner. To check, if you want to check, we have 19 stitches on each side plus the 2 corner stitches. I'm going to work around to almost the end, and my last stitch will be the last of the single crochet, and then I show you how to finish into the first of the single crochet. If you want to, you can skip ahead if you know how to do that, and then we meet for that last stitch. So I'm now on the fourth side of round 10, and all I have left to do is a front post double treble 4B 1B around around this DC 1B from the previous round. And then, because this would be the last stitch here, see, this is the chain with which we went up into the next round to get a bit of height. We skip this last stitch and we slip stitch directly into the top of the first single crochet we made in the corner, and that is round 10 finished. So we meet again for round 11. There is nothing new in round 11. You know everything already. All the stitches are familiar to you by now. So we start with one single crochet after the corner, and then we have a dcbb, a double crochet behind and below this double treble. See how these front loops here are peeking through? We just grab them. Those are the front loops we work into. And that is exactly the reason why we work into those front loops, in order to close those gaps. I don't like those gaps in a blanket, so I like to close them. And our next stitch is the same as this one, a front post double treble for a 1B. So yarn over 3 times, and from this stitch, this would be our next stitch, we count 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's the front post half treble 2B from the previous round, the first of those. We go around, go through 2, go through 2, go through 2, and go through the last 2. So from the next stitch we start a group of 5 single crochets, so we need to make sure we start in the correct one. This is the stitch behind which we made a double crochet, and this would have been the next stitch, but we replaced this with the front post double treble for A1B. So this is our next stitch. See? And from here we make 5 single crochet. And you also have a checkpoint, because the last of those single crochets will have to fall into the second of those front post half treble 2B groups. Around the first we made the front post double treble, and into the tops of the second we've got a last single crochet. Then again we have front post half treble 2Bs, 3 of them around each of those previous front post half treble 2Bs, and a third, and from here we start again with 5 single crochet. So the first has to go into the top of this front post half treble, and from here we make 5 single crochet. And that's it. And after that we make a, have I got 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's right. You see how we had this front post double treble for A1B? We now have a front post double treble for B1B, and it goes around the mirrored stitch. So here we went into the first of those 2 front post half trebles. Now we also go into first, but looking backwards. So around this one, 4 stitches back or behind, and 1 round below. And go through 2. So this would have been this stitch. We skip this one, and behind the next, you see we have those loops peeking through, and those are the ones we work behind, or we work into with a double crochet behind this front post double treble for B1B from the previous round. And our last stitch is a single crochet before we go into the corner. So it's not that hard really. You just have to make sure you find the right stitches, but you have those checkpoints as well. Remember that everything is symmetrical and all the sides are the same, of course. So just repeat that on the other 3 sides, and then slip stitch into the first stitch of the corner, finish round 11, and then we meet again for round 12. Round 12 is an interesting round because not only am I going to introduce you to a few new stitches, but also you have some alternatives. Well, actually it's only one new stitch, but because it's mirrored it looks as if it were two, and the other is a variation. We start the round with a single crochet. That's easy enough. Then the next stitch is one of those new stitches that will later be mirrored on the other side, on the second half of the side, and it's called a front post treble 1A to B / front post treble 2A 1B 2 together. That sounds very long and very complicated, but all it says is that we're going to make a front post treble, so yarn over twice, around with the first leg going around the stitch that is 1 ahead and 2 rounds below. So 1 stitch ahead is 1 from here, is 1 here, and 2 rounds below is, that's the previous round, 2 rounds below. That is the front post double treble for A1B we made 2 rounds earlier. Around this one we're going to make the first leg, and then the second leg, again starting to count from here. The second leg is 2A 1B, which is 1 2 ahead and 1 round below. So that's the round that we made the other front post double treble for A1B in. That's the previous round. So we've got 2 front post double treble for A1B, 1 we made in the previous round and 1 we made 2 rounds below. The first leg of this 2 together stitch is the treble part around the first of those front post double trebles we made 2 rounds earlier. So yarn over twice, go through 2, go through 2, leave 2 loops on the hook, yarn over twice again, and the second leg goes around the front post double treble from the previous round. Now we've got 3 loops on the hook and we go through all 3. So that's all that there is to this complicated sounding stitch. We skip the stitch that is behind because we made this 2 together stitch instead. So that's this stitch, and into the next stitch we make a single crochet. Then we make a hdcbb. So instead of making a dcbb, a double crochet behind and below, we make a half double crochet behind and below the next stitch. You see those loops here that have been skipped? That's the one we would make the half double crochet behind and below into. But we'd love to show you the variation as well. We call it the hdcbb-X. And what we can do here, and there's a reason why I do that, or why I suggest that, is we, instead of just going behind, we also grab those top loops of the next stitch, which is the double treble for A1B from the previous round, is those top loops, and then we go into the top loops 2 rounds below, and then we encompass all those 4 loops and make a normal HDC. And the reason why we make a HDC and not a double crochet is because the HDC in the end looks very similar to a single crochet, and that's the look we would like to get. And the reason why I suggest to encompass those loops as well is because it makes this look a little bit neater. I can show you the alternative on the other side when you see that those top loops are not worked into. So now we've got this hdcbb, and from here we work 5 single crochet. And the 5th of those single crochets, so the last, goes into the last stitch before this front post half treble 2B group, those 3. And here is your second choice, the second alternative. You could either work into the tops of those stitches with a single crochet, then it would be 5 single crochet plus those 3 plus another 5, which is 13 single crochet altogether, starting from this stitch here. Or you could, making sure, 1 2 3, yeah, that's it. Instead, work the hdcbb behind those stitches. So if you make a hdcbb in each of those 3 top loops here from the stitch 2 rows below, you will get a sharper looking contour of the head. So it will look like this. So this is your choice. So that's the choice for the so-called open head when you make the HDCs behind. And this is the so-called closed head when you single crochet across. So that's 13 single crochets across. Depending on which one you prefer, you have to proceed. So you will either have this opening in the front, or you will have this opening in the back. So it's really whichever you like better. If you say that's enough, then you single crochet across, but if you want a sharper definition, then you choose the hdcbbs. And this is what I showed you here. So after doing those 3, we skip the 3 in front, and starting from the stitch here, we have another 5 single crochet. And the last of those 5 single crochets falls into the stitch just before the front post double treble. So with this one, I showed you how to do the hdcbbx, where you go around the top loops here. So see, this would be the top loop. If you made a hdcbbx, you would go into these top loops and then grab the front loops of the stitch you skipped. It's a bit easier to see on this side because we don't have all the tangle here from the front post 2 together. But I wanted to show you the alternative, and the alternative would be to leave those top loops alone and just go into
This is the skipped stitch for the hdcbb. This will leave those top loops open, but we go around them with a front post half treble anyway. So we skip this stitch here because we work behind. We have another single crochet, and then we have the front post treble that mirrors this front post treble two together. So now with the first leg we go around the front post double treble from the previous round, and with the second leg we go around the front post double treble from 2 rounds below. So if you want to count, this would be our next stitch. We go back 1 and then 1, 2, and then 1 round below. So that's the front post double treble from the previous round. For the second leg we go back from here 1, and then it's a bit hidden here, 1 and then 2 rounds below. That is the front post double treble we made in round 10. So our first leg goes around this stitch, leaving 2 loops on the hook, yarn over twice again. Second leg goes around the other front post double treble, and then when we have 3 loops on the hook we go through all 3. Now we skip the stitch that is behind this 2 together stitch, and we have 1 last stitch left in which we'll make a single crochet, and then we are at the corner. So you see you have a few choices whether you prefer the open head or the closed head, whether you want to do a hdcbb-X or a hdcbb, which leaves you, see, it leaves you these front loops. Those are the ones that we worked around on this side. So this is a bit more closed and I find a bit neater. And yeah, so those are your choices. And in any combination with hdcbb-X and the hdcbb's here or the single crochets gives you a few choices. Whichever you prefer, work it around on the other 3 sides, slip stitch into the first single crochet of the corner, and we will be together in round 13.
I've got a few hints for rounds 13, 14, 19, 20 and 29, 30 of the border, which you can read about in the Outlandish Stitch Compendium for the Wrapped in WIJ-CAL. It's a free download, and there's also a page on my website. With round 14 you're going to make single crochet in the 3rd loop. So one of those tips and hints is to make the single crochet in round 13 very loose, so it's easier to get into those 3rd loops here. Another alternative would be to make HDCs instead of single crochet, but please read about it in the Stitch Compendium and then make your choice how you want to proceed in round 13. I will just give you the option to do the single crochet very loosely, and this is what I'm going to do here. So let's start the round as usual with a chain 1 and then the corner stitches here, and then we start with 2 single crochet, and I'm also trying to make them very loose. And then we make a front post HDC 1B. That is our last special stitch in this inner part of the square, and you know all the other stitches anyway. So what that means is we make a HDC around those 2 legs of the front post treble we did in the previous round. So just grab those 2 legs and make a HDC. That is all. And from here we need to find the stitch behind, which is now a little bit scrambled, and we make 17 single crochet, and you just single crochet across all the way. And remember, if you're doing it like me, just make them really loose. So that it's easier to work into in the next round. I am by nature rather on the loose side in crocheting. That should be easy for me. And that's why I've yarn over twice here on my finger to keep the tension. I have better control over the tension. So 17 single crochet, one more, 17 single crochet. That should bring you just before this stitch here, and we will have 2 stitches in the end before the corner. So now we do the front post HDC, and that will bring the ends of those horns up a little bit, and then 2 more single crochet, and that's it for round 13. Yeah, so just do this on all 3 other sides, slip stitch into the first single crochet of the corner, and we meet again in round 14. So we are now in round 14, and I'm sorry, I have not spoken about stitch count for a few rounds now. So in round 13 you should have had 25 stitches on each side, and in round 14, as I said previously, we are going to single crochet in the 3rd loop. So this is the front loop, this is the back loop, and when you turn around a little bit you find the 3rd loop here, and everything is explained in the stitch compendium that I mentioned in the previous round. So please, if you have not already, go and have a look and check out this compendium. Here we are at the stitch that I wanted to show you. So I've made a few single crochet in the 3rd round, and this is the front post HDC that we made around those 2 legs, and you will find that with this one it's pretty easy to find this 3rd loop and also to work into it. So if making HDCs here instead of the single crochet is your choice, you will have it quite easy in round 14 and also in round 20 if you do the HDCs in round 19. But we'll get to that later on. So yeah, please have a look, and whichever way you choose to do round 13 in preparation for round 14, this is what you will be working into now in this round, because this is round 14. So if you made the single crochets very loose, you just find the 3rd loops. If you made HDCs, you will find the 3rd loops pretty easily. If you're going to use a smaller hook in round 14, you will have it easier to go into those 3rd loops, and there are, I think, 1 or 2 other options as well. So just single crochet in the 3rd loop around, so you will have 25 single crochets between those corner stitches. The corner stitches still go into the chain 2 spaces, and then you start your first single crochet in the 3rd loop in with the single crochet after the corner, and you end with the single crochet before the corner. So you see that will be your last one, and then you will go into the corner. So just make sure that you have those 25 in the third loop, and then including those stitches from the corners, you will have 27 stitches altogether. And I'll do the same, and I will meet you in round 15. That you survived round 14, you will find round 15 quite easy and relaxed. So after the corner, chain 1 and then the corner, we start with 4 single crochet, and then we start a little repeat. So we start with 1 single crochet in the back loop only, that is the first stitch of the repeat, and then 8 single crochet. Seven and 8, and then again the repeat, single crochet in the back loop only, and then 8 single crochet. So we have this repeat twice. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Then again a single crochet in the back loop only, and then 4 single crochet at the end. And the corner. There you go. You should have 3 single crochet in the back loop only. That is your round 15. So repeat on the other 3 sides, slip stitch in the first single crochet of the corner, and we'll be back together in round 16. Round 16 is equally relaxed because it's also only single crochet and single crochet in the back loop only. And you will see when you start to work that on either side of the single crochet in the back loop, where we only have the front loop left here, you will have another single crochet in the back loop only, and a single crochet in both loops above this one. So you will have this repeat 3 times. On either side of this front loop will be, in the next round, will be another single crochet in the back loop only. And when we count that, or when we look at that, it will translate into the pattern like that. We start with 4 single crochet, and then you see that we are now in the stitch before that back loop single crochet, and again we make a back loop only. Then we single crochet in both loops, and then 1 in the back loop only. And now we have 6 single crochet in both loops. 6, and that will bring you just to the stitch before the next back loop stitch. And again, back loop, both loops, back loop, and then again 6 single crochet in both loops. And again, so we are in just before the stitch with a back loop only. We'll make a back loop, both loops, back loop, and then the last 4 single crochet go through both loops. And the corner stitch. See, very easy, very relaxed again. And you always have those orientation points where you say, oh yeah, they have to be on either side of those stitches with the back loops only. Repeat on the other sides. Slip stitch into the first single crochet of the corner, and we'll be back again in round 17. And just like that, we are in round 17 now, and we just repeat the principle. There we go. We just repeat the principle of having back loop stitches beside the back loop stitches from the previous round. You see here we had the one, then we had one in between, and now we're going to have 3 single crochet through both loops between single crochet and back loops only. So we start with 4 single crochet, and make sure that you find the first after the corner. 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that will bring you just again before the stitch with the back loop from the previous round. We have 1 back loop stitch, 3 single crochet in both loops, and again a single crochet in the back loop only. And then we continue with single crochet, four single crochet, and here we are, back loop, 3 both loops, back loop only, and then again 4 single crochet. And 4. And again back loop, 3 single crochet, 1, 2 and 3, and then back loop only again, see, and that's before and just after the other back loop from the previous round. And we finish the side with 4 single crochet, just like we started. Plus the corner. Your stitch count should be 33 single crochet or 33 stitches between the chain 2 corner spaces. So those 33 include the 2 corner stitches. Repeat 3 times on the other sides, and then slip stitch into the first single crochet of the corner, and we'll be back in round 18. For round 18, I would love to show you just a quick visual of what we're going to do. We're going to fill those front loops with a DC1B, which means a double crochet into the front loop of the stitch 1 round below, then a half treble 2B, which is a half treble into the front loop of the stitch 2 rounds below, and then a treble 3B, which is a treble into the front loop of the stitch 3 rounds below, and then half treble 2B, and then DC1B again. And we have those 4 single crochet, and then we start all over again. So we start with 5 single crochet, then we have this group, then 4 the group, 4 the group, and we end with 5. So let's do this in crochet. You see, it's very logical, very easy, and your round 18 will be done in no time. Starting with 5 single crochet, 4 and 5, and then here's our first group. So the DC1B, the half treble 2B, the treble 3B, and because they're directly below, there is no A or B to indicate forwards or backwards, ahead or behind stitches. And again, the half treble 2B and the DC1B. Now, because we have done 5 stitches in the front, we have to skip those 5 stitches in the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next stitch goes into here, and we will make 4 single crochet. If you have difficulty seeing those front loops as you go, you may want to prepare with putting stitch markers in each of those front loops, which I personally find quite annoying, so I try to avoid them. If you find it easy to work with them, that's what you do. We don't have to be religious here. It should be fun. If it's not fun to do it without stitch markers for you, then you do it with stitch markers. So that's our second group now. I've already done the DC, half treble, and then the treble, and now again the twice over, the half treble, and the DC. See, you don't always have to count the stitches behind. In this case, if you needed to count, it would be easier to count back from those stitches, but it's really plain and obvious to see which is the next stitch we need to work in. 4 single crochet into those, between those groups, and we do this group one more time. The DC, half treble 2B, the DC 1B, half treble 2B, treble 3B, half treble 2B, and the DC 1B. We have 5 stitches left, and we single crochet in each of those stitches. And 5. And that's it. 1 corner stitch. And we're done. The stitch count is 35 stitches per side, which includes the corner stitch on either side. Repeat on the other 3 sides. Slip stitch into the first of the single crochet in the corner, and we'll be back together for round 19. Remember how we spoke about preparing round 13 for round 14, which is the single crochet in third loop round? It's the same for round 19 here. Because round 20 will be done in the third loops, if you choose to do so, there are ways to make it easier for you and that you can prepare in round 19. Please refer to the hints for rounds 13, 14, 19, 20, and also for 29, 30 of the border, which you can find in the Outlandish Stitch Compendium for the Wrapped in WIJ-CAL. It is a free download from the website. You have to go through the shop and download it, but it's $0, so it's a free download for you in US terms. Round 19 is the easiest that you can imagine because it's only a single crochet across, or HDC across if that's what you choose to do. So if you do that, you will have 35. So this is, I don't need to show you how to do single crochet, you know that. You will have 35 single crochet plus the 2 corner stitches, which is 37. In case you want to continue with the border, after round 19 would be a good time to change colors if you want to do the border in a different color, but that will all be explained in the border pattern. If you choose to do the border, then after round 19 you would swap to the border pattern. If you don't want to do the border, then you do round 19, as I say, with a single crochet, and then round 20 will be your last round. So let's do round 19 together. Or you do it and I do it, and then we meet again after you do the slip stitch into the first stitch, and then we will just meet briefly for round 20. There is one option, however, if you would like to have a similar definition for these, let's call them ox heads as well, like you have here. If you chose the open head, what you would do instead of single crochet across is, for example, do the HDCB hdcbb. I would not do a double crochet. HDC would be enough. Half double crochet would be enough to do behind those. What will happen then is that you will have a big gap here in the front, and if you don't do that, let's just quickly do that, and one more HDC. So now we continue with single crochet, 3 and 4. So if you would continue with single crochet into the top, will just give you a softer look. So let's compare this. You see, this is very open, but because it's so wide, you can see how wide it is. I think it would be better to single crochet, but you know, you have options. Whichever way you prefer to proceed here, either with hdcbb or with single crochet across, that's how you finish the other 3 sides. Or you may even swap and have some open and some closed. You can play a little bit if you want to, and then we meet briefly for round 20. I have finished the round 19 in different variations, actually, how to do those heads. See, I've started with single crochet over them, and again and again, and then I left the whole group open, and then again only single crochet, left it open, then I had single crochet only again, then I had 2 HDC behind, 1 single crochet in the middle, and then again 2 HDC behind, and then 1 single crochet in the first, 3 HDC behind, and another single crochet, and then I had 1 HDC, single crochet, HDC, single crochet, HDC behind, and this is the other way around. This is single crochet, HDC, single crochet, HDC, single crochet, and the last is a normal single crochet across again. So you have a few options for round 19 for working those heads. And now I would love to show you how to finish this round off. So I've already cut the yarn and pulled the yarn through. So now I'm going to, oops, wrong side. I'm going to finish off with as good as an invisible joint as is possible. Usually you would skip this stitch for the invisible join and then go back, but because we don't have another stitch, we only have the corner, I'm just going through the 2 loops from the corner. I pull them through, and then I go back into the stitch where I came from, and I also go into those loops behind, and then I pull that through, and that gives me a neat finish that is almost invisible. And then however you want to weave in your yarn, that's how you finish off your round 19. And that is in case you do like to change color for round 20. And I will continue with the border, so I am going to change color, and I would love to show you how to start the new color. So my new color will be white, and here we are. I start with a standing single crochet. So to make that, I start with a normal slip knot, then I insert the hook and pull the yarn through, and like a normal single crochet go through both loops. So that is the single crochet, the standing single crochet. And I just make 2 chains, like the chain 2, and another single crochet into the corner space. Now for round 20, I would find the third loops. So this is the third loop. It's the one behind, just behind the back loop. And I work into those third loops all the way around, and that would be the way how I would make around 20 with or without the border following. You do that all the way around, and I will meet you just to show you how to finish off in the end. Then your stitch count will be 37 stitches, which means 37 stitches into the third loops plus the 2 corner stitches then. So make sure you have 37 stitches in the third loops here, and then we meet again to finish it off. Now on the fourth side of the square, I've already done 35 stitches in the single crochet in the third loop, which means I only need 2 more. So there's 1, and the last one, you see, is just here before the corner. So I go into that, and then to finish off, I'm going to continue with a border, so I will work over this part later. And to finish, make a slip stitch into the first single crochet. So just like we did all the time here. That is round 20 of the square. And if you choose to stop here, then your square 1, Year of the Ox, is finished. Congratulations. If you choose to work the border, you can just continue with the border pattern, and round 20 is explained there as well. So thank you very much for joining me on this adventure of the Wrapped in Jamie Crochet Along. It's a very exciting time for me. I hope you enjoy making the squares as much as I enjoyed designing them and doing everything to bring them to you. And please subscribe to the channel. You will automatically get notified when I upload new videos, which will be more or less regular until the end of the crochet along. And if you want, you can also subscribe to the newsletter that I'm sending out for the new links to the patterns when they're released, or for information when I release new free patterns after this crochet along. Find ways to join us. There's also a Facebook group that provides support and inspiration. So if you have questions in regards to the squares or to the patterns, or you want some inspiration in regards to color combinations, colorway, then the Facebook group is a good place to get that information. Now I'm going to leave you to finish your round 20, and to continue with the border if you choose to do so. And I hope to see your work somewhere. Let me know when you finish the square. Show me your pictures. I love to see them all. They're all beautiful. What I've seen so far, they're really, really nice. And yeah, thanks again for being on this journey with me. So long. Bye.